only mode.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our Social Media Magic webinar, Wow Your Community with Awesome Content. Thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. I'm Sarah Fletcher, founder of Mushroom Soufflé, and we create social media magic for business. I have to tell you, I am super excited. This webinar is the third in a series of social media magic webinars that we're hosting this year as part of our 5th birthday celebrations. What I want to achieve with this series is to cut through the crap of social media for you. I know there's a lot to think about, to plan and implement, and it probably isn't your forte. Otherwise, you'd be an expert in social media too. And I want to give you clarity of exactly what you need to be doing so you can get the results that you need. Today I'm going to be sharing with you the awesome content that you have to share that your community needs from you, and 3 cool tools that will help make your content awesome. And there's a lot more coming besides. Now this is serious stuff because I'm convinced if you don't know these, then you really shouldn't be doing social media. So here at Mushroom Soufflé, bear with me, a small issue with the, there we go. Here at Mushroom Soufflé, we work with owners of small businesses who are confused and overwhelmed by social media and way too busy to tackle it alone. They need to boost their brand awareness and achieve increased exposure. They understand that social media is a vital tool in their marketing strategy, and they want to take full advantage of the numerous benefits that can be gained. It is about converting quiet and disinterested contacts into superfans, a phrase you've probably heard me say before and you will hear me say again. And that's a growing, lively, tuned-in community buzzing with activity that attracts more of their ideal clients. We do this through mentoring, bespoke training, and strategy sessions, or we just take the weight of it off your shoulders. It's about discovering what solution works best for you and your business. Now I hope you've got your iPad or a pen and a big notepad handy and you're ready to take notes, because there is a lot of information coming up that you are going to want to remember. There will be time for some questions at the end, so please send those to us in the question box as you think of them throughout the webinar. I've got a lot to tell you today, and I'm really excited to be able to give you this information. But I also know I'm not going to be able to cover everything that you want to know. So at the end of the webinar, I'm going to tell you how to get more information from me. Now, before I dive in, I want to know that you can hear me okay. If you can you look at your GoToWebinar panel that's on your screen, and can you please raise your hand? You should see a button there. If not, drop us a note in the question box just to say, I can't hear you. So in the meantime, what we're going to do is it's time to go to the poll. So I want to know, how do you feel about your social media right now? Now my lovely assistant Lou is going to pop the poll box up onto your screen, and it should appear any minute now. Now, number 1, help. I don't know what to say or write or talk about on Twitter or Facebook or Google+. Or are you a number 2? No one pays any attention to what I'm putting out there. I'm trying, but it's not being very effective. 3, it's a work in progress, but it's going in the right direction. Or 4, it's cool, I've got this covered and it's going well. Now if you're number 1, not knowing what to say, don't panic. You are not alone, I promise you. This is one of the major worries that people have when thinking of their social media. It's one of the biggest issues that actually holds people back from doing it. Now, maybe you're a 2 and your social media is not being as effective as you need it to be. Your tweets are being ignored, no one's looking at your Facebook page, and there's no sign of life on Google+. It seems that we might need to take a look at what you're putting out there and finding out why there's a lack of response. Let's hope you're not boring people, although I'm sure you're not. Number 3s, that's great, but I guess you'd also like to fast track it more and really get it shifting. Rapid improvement is what we want. And if you clicked for, that is awesome, it's great to have you with us today, but, you know, I'm honoured, but why are you here? So do we have the results of the poll? Okay, number 1s, we've got 75%. Okay, that's a really high percentage of you. And I hope that makes you feel better knowing that you're not alone. And there was 25% for number 3. We had the other 25% for number 3. Okay, so that's a really good divide between numbers 1 and 3. So many people seem to be missing out on the most obvious, yet unnoticed secret of social media. The awesome content is king. The next half an hour is going to give you the tools to help whichever category you're in, 1 or 3. You need to remember going forward from now, if you're not sharing awesome content with your community, really you're not doing social media. But I hear you cry, what exactly is awesome content? Okay, good question, and I'm so glad you asked. So awesome content is what attracts people into your community. It makes them stop, read it, admire it, comment on it, click like or share or retweet. It makes them take action, and it strikes a chord with them. Awesome content is what makes your community stay with you and not get bored and wander off elsewhere. It's what makes you valuable to your community. Awesome content is also what will draw the search engines to your website, to your blog, and to your social media accounts and increase your Google ranking. Basically, awesome content is vital. So do you remember how it used to be? The more traditional marketing method that went along the lines of, we are bookkeepers. We are the best bookkeepers there are. Come and buy from us. Yeah, that approach doesn't really work anymore. People are looking for more. They want to know more about you. They want to feel that they know you and that you're the right person to trust with their problems that you can solve. So a proper content focus strategy will go a little bit more like this. Here is lots of helpful information about bookkeeping. We know a lot about bookkeeping, and we understand why you need a bookkeeper. We offer bookkeeping services that will fit your needs. Come and buy from us. So that's how it is now. And this is the core to your marketing. Now the fun comes in making your product or service sound more interesting, crucial, and sexy. Yes, it may be a little difficult if you're a bookkeeper or another area that may not seem particularly sexy, but there are always ways to do that. You just need a little bit of imagination. So do you have existing content that you can use? And how good is it? I want you to look at your existing content. And by this, I mean your website, marketing materials such as flyers and brochures. Yes, apparently they still exist in some industries. Tweets, Facebook posts, LinkedIn updates, blogs, and any additional information that goes out to your customers and potential customers. And I want you to ask the following questions. How useful is your existing content? Are you giving your customers the information they are looking for? Don't make it hard for them to find. Does your content Tell a potential new customer everything they need to know. Now, they need everything to know everything because they need to be able to make an informed decision. Again, don't make it hard for them to find, or they may actually go to someone who's made it really easy. Number 3, is your content full of blatant marketing? If it is, excuse us if we have a little yawn and move on to the next person. The hard sell does not work on social media. It completely defeats the object of it. Number 4, are the benefits clearly laid out and are they compelling enough? You need to make it a no-brainer for people to want your service or product. You need to make an emotional connection with them. Number 5, is the content interesting enough to warrant them coming back or sharing? This is what you want. You want return visits to your website and to your social media profiles. You want other people sharing your blogs and videos to their communities because they think it is helpful and valuable. Number 6, does your content capture and hold people's attention? If it's good, they will spend longer on your website. They will spend longer on your blog, learning more about you and developing a sense of trust as they get to know you. And finally, with number 7, is your content on brand? Yes, this means, is your logo across all of your social media profiles and websites? Are you using your corporate colours for recognition? But it also means, are you using the same personality everywhere too? The language used, your tone of voice, the level of service and communication provided. You will communicate with your customers on the phone, over email, face-to-face, as well as online. It all needs to be consistent. So it's quicker and easier to revamp existing content than it is to create new content from scratch. There's no point reinventing the wheel. But what do you do if you don't really have any existing content? Perhaps you've been relying on the more traditional marketing methods, in which case, eek, it's definitely time to move on. So how do you start creating brand new content? What is your area of expertise? Your content needs to share a feeling of trust or create a feeling of trust with your customers. It's about establishing your credibility as the expert. Sharing your fantastically useful information will develop this. But don't take what you know for granted. Now, we are all experts in our own right, and we've got so much information locked away in our heads that others are dying to know. And I totally appreciate that this is easier said than done, because in fact I still do it all the time, whether I'm doing LinkedIn training, just chatting with a client, or in one of our breakthrough calls. I'll mention something and the person I'm talking to will stop me and ask me to repeat it. For them, it's a light bulb moment. It's a moment of clarity or an idea that suddenly boosts their understanding. To me, it seems really obvious what I've just said, but that's because I know it. And I've assumed everybody else does too. Which then means that I have a light bulb moment too, normally in the shape of writing a blog or creating this webinar. The most important thing is to understand your customers. What are they interested in? What do they want to know? This is all about them and nothing to do with you. If you can tap into what your community are craving to hear about, amazing things will start to happen. So I'd really like to know who's actually been looking at the last few slides on this presentation. Are you bored yet? Because it was just a whole load of text and nothing really very interesting happening. So maybe these will be a bit better, and you're going to see just where I'm going with this. So the first thing you need to do is start brainstorming ideas. and subjects to talk about. Think about the chats you have with your customers. What do they ask you? Do you have a list of frequently asked questions? Do you go out networking? Are there particular areas of what you do that really fascinates people? Do you hear the same phrases over and over again? Oh, I just don't have time. Or, oh, I wouldn't even know where to start. Or, oh gosh, that's not something I understand at all. It all helps you identify popular subjects, and it gives you an insight to how people view what you do and the pains and struggles that they have with it. So you can create a list or mind map of your ideas. You won't be able to work through them all in one go, but you can go back to it over time, add to it, and decide what to work on next. How can you present them? One idea can transform into a number of different formats. So, for example, what if you write a how-to guide? That how-to guide can be turned into an ebook, a YouTube video, maybe a podcast, and be broken down into tweets, Facebook posts, LinkedIn updates, and Google Plus posts. So what else can you create? Do you already have training courses that you run? Do you have any webinars like this one? Do you have other free downloads? How about creating comparison articles? Then, of course, you've got your expert advice, hints and tips, and even demonstrations of your product. Once you have these, it should be so easy to break them down into the blogs, the tweets, the Facebook posts, and the updates, and also turn some into visuals and infographics. One thing I would really like to say here, because a lot of you are concerned about it and always ask me, okay, no matter how much of your expertise you share in tweets or blogs or videos, your customer is not going to become the expert just from reading or watching them. I'm going to tell you that again. Your customer is not going to become the expert just from reading or watching them. Unless they spend as much time as you do immersed in your industry, they are never going to be the expert that you are. This means you can share a lot of knowledge, and they are still going to need your help when it comes to the crunch. Don't get me wrong, there are always going to be the people who just take the free stuff and never become your client. But they are not going to achieve the same results than if they actually use your paid services. So just give that some thought when you're deciding what it is that you're going to put out there with your advice. As ideas occur to you, and they will, usually at the most inconvenient time of the day, such as just as you're dropping off to sleep, in the middle of client work or driving, you need to capture them straight away, as soon as possible, or you will forget. So having a notepad and pen nearby is always vital, although not when you're driving, please. Or you can record them using voice memos on your phone. Again, if you're driving, hands-free, please. If you don't, these ideas will just float off into the ether, and when you try to remember them an hour or two later, they will be gone. So always just keep a note nearby, just as things are happening, so that you can go back to them later when you've got the time to dedicate to them. Alongside your expert knowledge, there's also a raft of ideas you can incorporate into your social media strategy. So I would recommend that you also give thought to competitions that you can hold, talking about events that you're involved with, giving people a peek behind the scenes of your business. We all love that because we're all really nosy. We love to know what goes on behind closed doors. Have you thought about sharing your hobbies? You really never know what you have in common with your customers. You could do a meet the team. There's always inspirational quotes that you can share. You can create offers, especially for your social media community, to thank them for being in your community. And don't forget, you can always use it to conduct market research amongst your audience. You can get real feedback, and people usually love to be asked their opinion. So I touched on them a little just a little while ago, but I want to talk to you about visuals. Okay, the use of images and visuals exploded onto social media in early 2013 last year. Now, this is due to visuals having so much more impact than text, and also to smartphones making it so easy to create and share photos, memes, and videos. Now, we all love infographics because they can portray interesting information without the boredom of having to read a load of text. Motivational quotes overlaying images give so much more impact. Cartoons and drawings make us think because a picture paints 1,000 words. Visuals attract a better reaction because they're colourful, they stand out, and they just look more interesting. So how can you put your information into a format that draws people's attention? What photos can you use with your blogs to give them greater impact? So visuals can take the form of presentations, like the one you're watching now. You've got videos and animations. You can use photos, infographics, and you've got the images with motivational sayings and quotes over them. So it's really, really worthwhile to take the time out to see how you can create the visual aspect of the information that you've got to share to really capture people's attention and make it easier for them to follow. Now, what I'd like to take you through next is my system for writing super cool tweets. Now, this doesn't work just for tweets because you can apply it to Facebook posts, Google Plus, and LinkedIn updates too. The tweets just happen to be the hardest because you're so limited on characters. So I've just got 7 steps for you here. Now, I'd be rich if I had £1 for every time a Twitter newbie wailed to me, what on earth am I going to fit into 140 characters? Yes, it is a challenge. But if you want to make an impact on Twitter, there is definitely more to it than simply typing a few words and hitting the tweet button. 140 characters is pretty limited, but with some imagination and some top tips, you can be a super cool tweeter. So the first one is be personal. Now you're here for business, so you are using Twitter to promote your products or services. But the biggest mistake you can make is to use it as a sales channel. Nobody wants to listen to any of us shouting, I'm amazing, buy me, buy me, buy me. And in fact, you're actually likely to lose followers if you do that. Instead, keep it personal. Write tweets on the things you're passionate about. Show some of the real you. Talk about your day. Twitter is all about making connections and having conversation. So give your followers a person, not a business to connect with. Be interesting. Have you ever heard someone say, I don't get Twitter? Who wants to know what anyone had for tea? Sadly, some people do spout a lot of rubbish on Twitter. Now, you need to make sure you stand out for all the right reasons. So make your tweets entertaining, interesting, and informative. Talk about topics that your community are interested in, and people are far more likely to listen. You want to make people respond. Don't just type the first thing you think of and send it. Put some thought into your tweets. How can you phrase them so that you make sure they grab attention? Sometimes a few words can have more impact than a long, rambling tweet. And don't forget to include something of value wherever you can, because then people are more likely to click a tweet or, click a link or retweet your message if they get something out of it, less is definitely more. So just because you've got 140 characters, it doesn't mean you have to use them all. What? I hear you say, but that's not enough. Well, the thing is, it's worth leaving 20 characters or so free so anyone retweeting can add their own comments. If they have to start editing your message to fit in theirs, then they're more likely not to bother. And when using a link shortening tool, then you should keep your messages to 100 characters or less, because a link takes up about 20 characters. How can you make your tweet look interesting? So maybe look at the visual that we've got here on this slide. You want to stand out. So I want you to go and scroll through your Twitter newsfeed. What makes you stop and read the tweet? How can you make your tweet stand out from all the other millions of tweets? Now, there's no law that says the usernames, and mine is @mushroomsoufflé. There's no law to say that has to be at the beginning of every tweet if you're messaging to someone, or that links have to be at the end. Mix it up so it looks a little bit different. Can you use spacing? Can you use symbols? And other ways of highlighting something important to add to the effect. You need to make your tweets search friendly. So don't forget to use your hashtags on your tweets so that the search engines pick them up more and make it easier for people to find. You can use hashtags for instance, one that we use would be hashtag social media tip. Maybe yours is hashtag bookkeeping or marketing expert. But you can also use them for comic effect too, such as it's been a bad day, hashtag really need a cuppa. I would recommend don't use more than 3 hashtags in the tweets though, because it can make the tweet look very busy and hard to read when those links highlight. And the last one on here is write properly. Just because it's a tweet doesn't mean you can ignore the rules of spelling or grammar or punctuation. Your tweets are a reflection of you, so check them before you send them, and do make sure there are no obvious typos or errors. I would say, as we're all here using this for business as well, try to avoid text talk. Whilst the occasional B4, as in the terms of the letter B and the number 4, is okay if you need to save space, and I will admit, I do like a lol because it works for many amusing conversations I have on Twitter. But full-on text talk actually might confuse a lot of your followers, depending on their age, in which case they won't bother interacting. So those are my 7 steps to writing cool tweets. Put the effort into writing great tweets, and your community will love you all the more for it. So now we're going to move on to, I've got 3 tools for awesome content that I'm going to share with you. So I'm going to give you the 3 tools straight away. Take a look at the list and see what you think. Now you might actually look at a couple of those and go, she's crazy, but I'm not. Let me explain. So Canva, www.canva.com. This is great for creating your own visuals, and it's web-based, so there's nothing to download, which I personally absolutely love. It's completely free, and it gives you the options to design social media images, Facebook covers, blog graphics, and a lot more. It's super easy to use, which from my point of view is great, and it's got a massive library of free images that you can use, and it's got loads of help tutorials as well on the website to guide you through it. Take a look, have a go, because I don't see that there are any excuses now for not brightening up your Twitter stream or your Facebook page with some fantastic visuals. Then this is the one where you probably think I'm a little bit mad, the thesaurus. It's probably not what you're expecting. But actually, I find it crucial to writing because sometimes I find that you use the same words over and over again. Going through this webinar, my favourite word obviously has to be impact. I use it a lot. But sometimes you need words with more of an effect maybe a slightly different twist on it. I've been using the thesaurus for years, especially on client content, and it works an absolute treat. I've always got to open the browser, or I've got the app on my iPad as well, and I just find it so useful. So if you're a big one for writing, take a look and see what you can do with it. And then we've got your awesome content calendar. Okay, so I've made it through nearly a whole webinar without ramming down your throat that you have to plan in advance. Well, okay, this is why I'm going to do it. You need to plan in advance. It is a must. Unless you're hit with a moment of inspiration, blogs do not fall out of the sky. Webinars don't happen overnight, believe me. Plan them in advance. Know what you're going to talk about month by month. You could have a story and a theme so that it's all cohesive and flows smoothly. You need to save yourself time, and having a strategy will do exactly that, along with measuring your success and ensuring consistency with your interactions. Now, I was actually going to end the webinar there, but actually I had a moment of inspiration earlier and realized that what I really want to share with you are the top 5 mistakes to be aware of when creating your awesome content. And now these are issues I see on a daily basis. So number 1, I mentioned it earlier, typos and grammar. It looks awful and it can affect what people think of you, and it will detract from what you're saying because people find it distracting. It can also say a lot for your attention to detail or lack of. Don't just post famous quotes. They have their place and they resonate with people. But we really want to hear your voice, your thoughts, your opinions, and your personality. It's not about you, it's about them. That's number 3. Don't go for the hard sell and talk all about yourself. Make it about them. Make them feel valued and special, and they'll come to you. Number 4, beware of being boring. So mix it up. Keep your audience entertained and inspired. And finally, create your posts on the right formats for Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Google+. I have seen many tweets cut off at the end because they're too long and they actually haven't been checked before they've hit the tweet button. So with those top 5 tips, there is now no reason to why you can't go forth and create awesome content. So if you remember at the beginning of the webinar, I promised to tell you how to get more information from me. Well, today I have a special gift for you. I am offering you a complimentary one-to-one awesome content breakthrough session with me for 30 minutes on the telephone as a thank you for being here on this webinar. So we will discover what is preventing your social media content from being awesome. We'll explore your options for 2014. And we'll identify the one simple action you can take immediately to crank up your social media. Now, if you're ready to take action and start boosting your social media presence as you've always imagined, then I do urge you to apply for one of the 5 limited spots that I have available today, right now, before your chance disappears. But you have to be ready to take this seriously and dedicated to making your social media really work for you, because otherwise it will be a waste of your time. So we will discover what is preventing your social media content from being awesome, and the one simple action you can immediately take to crank up your social media. All you have to do is email us on office@mushroom-soufflé.co.uk. It's there, it's on the screen for you. I need you to put breakthrough call in the subject and in return we will just send you our simple application form. I want you to do that now. Don't procrastinate if you've decided now is the time to be successful with your social media. If you don't take action, nothing will change. So I'm going to repeat those details again to make sure you've got them written down. Email us on office@mushroom-soufflé.co.uk and put breakthrough call in the subject to receive your application. So that's everything from me today. We do have time for questions, but Lou tells me that nobody has sent any in which case it sounds like my work here is done. Hopefully I've given you as much information as possible to enable you to go forward and really look at making awesome content for your social media and keeping your community happy, thriving and growing. Thank you very much. Make sure you apply for your breakthrough session now and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.